Welcome into the latest edition of Extra Time. Thank you, as always, for your questions. Ali is here, Stevie as well. Thank you very much for all the messages that people have been sending me over the last couple of days. But I don't want to make this all about me. So we'll talk about your questions, shall we? Which I'm desperately trying to find here amongst all of this.
What were the messages about?
Just nice things. People wishing me well.
Okay.
Much appreciated. Go on.
At the bottom.
That's it. I put it at the bottom. No, it's not the bottom. You find them, Stevie. Here we go. First question. When a teammate gets a red card in the first 10 minutes, how mad are you in that moment, and do you have it off at half-time? Or do you let them have it at half-time?
Well, probably not at halftime, but at the end of the game, and it depends really on the outcome of the game. But especially in the hot weather, especially in the heat, having to run around and basically in the manner in which it happened as well. And so, look, I think players and teammates are willing to forgive certain types of fouls in certain moments of the game.
Right.
But in those conditions, probably not. But the fact that actually Real Madrid goes on to win it, probably this now turns into a joke.
Okay. Just the manner of the sending off. For example, the Nico Jackson challenge.
Yes.
Compared to what we saw from Asensio, which was essentially just a tug of the shirt. Does that then dictate what's said?
Yeah, well, yes, but I also think that the Nico Jackson was much later in the game, whereas Raúl Asensio leaves now 85 minutes for people to have to run in a manner in which I suppose they were not ready to do ahead of him getting himself thrown out. But as we said on the show, Real Madrid were better playing with 10 men than they were with 11, at least in terms of their organization and their structure. I think, again, the result, because they ended up winning and because they feel good about themselves, the conversation with Asensio is far different than it would have been otherwise.
Steve, have there been times in your career where you've seen it happen? People have a go at others for red cards?
Yeah. It completely depends on the whole circumstances and all the other things. But I've seen a couple, and it's never a long. It's just a word on the way by, just looking somebody straight in the face and thanks very much. Or other types of language.
Right.
Making them just know exactly what it is. As a coach, if somebody does something really stupid, I would pull them out in front of the players after the game and then just let them stew. Don't talk to them. Let them stew.
Explain that in a little more detail. What do you mean?
Well, there has to be accountability.
Okay.
And
so I've been sent off. I've been sent off. I've done something stupid. How do you treat me at full time?
I'll make sure I make an example of you.
In what way? What are you doing to me?
Verbals.
Right.
Pointing the finger, straight in your face, verbals. Because half the team...
And if I start crying, it does make it
tough luck.
Right.
Half the team will automatically forgive anybody in it. Mm-hmm. Generally, the guys who are in charge of the dressing room are the ones that will be, as I said, they'll have a quick word and make sure you know exactly.
Yes.
But as a manager, you have to make sure that you're holding somebody accountable so they know that I'm not just going to forget about it.
Right.
But again, the severity of the dressing down depends on the situation.
Okay.
100%.
And if you're Asensio, you would do yourselves a lot of favors by diffusing the situation at the end of the match, and you yourself, without having been dressed down just yet, and getting up and saying, my bad.
Right.
Guys, I'm sorry. It won't happen again, sort of thing. And so if you are on as I would have been in this sort of situation, if you are sort of like, I can't wait to tell him everything that I'm thinking and right about this moment, when somebody then diffuses the situation by apologizing, you kind of go, okay.
Oh.
Paul,
okay.
I'm pretty sure it was still in the first half. We were playing Southampton away.
Right.
It was midweek. I'm pretty sure it was the first half. And I've turned round and Paul Walsh is walking off the field. And nobody's seen what's going on. The big centre-back is lying on the ground holding his face. Walsh just walked straight off. So we've come in at half-time, Kevin Bond.
Okay.
Kevin Bond it was. Come in at half-time. And the manager, Kenny, just went straight up to Walsh and went, what the... And he said he spat straight in my face and I punched him before he even thought about it.
Okay.
Kenny went, fair enough.
Right.
So it really depends.
It all depends on.
Yeah. Anybody spits you straight in the face like that and you punch them.
Yeah.
Nobody's going to say a word to you.
Right. And there's a famous story of when Eric Cantona, of course, got sent off and then kicked someone in the crowd. And Fergie lays into Lee Sharp, I believe it was, for a long time about how they could find themselves losing against Crystal Palace. And then for Eric, he just goes, you can't do that. Stevie, as a young player, how difficult is it to mature and avoid the silly mistakes like Asensio seems to be making?
Do you know, this is really tough to answer because you go from being that guy, and then you kind of just one day you go, God, it's a while since I did anything stupid.
Okay.
It's not like you walk in one day and somebody just flicks a switch.
Right, it's accumulative.
It happens over a period of time. And you kind of just, I remember doing it and just going, oh, hold on a minute. I'm in the team every week.
Right.
I'm playing well. When did that happen? How did that come about?
Nice.
Things just flows.
Ali, what do you think about Marcus Rashford's comment about wanting to play with Lamine Yamal at Barcelona?
Well, so would I. I mean, look.
Hey, me too.
I mean, of course. But while there was some sort of conversation about Marcus Rashford at some point where perhaps there was an emptiness of newsworthy items to talk about early on in the summer, and he seemed to be some sort of option for Barcelona, now that conversation has cooled down significantly and dramatically, and it's now Nico Williams. Again, we have recycled this Nico Williams.
Yes.
And so it's wishful thinking, I think, for Marcus Rashford. And if I believe I said this last week, if I don't feel like Barcelona need Nico Williams, I certainly don't think that Barcelona needs Marcus Rashford.
Ali, does the Club World Cup show that with the Brazilian players at Ancelotti's disposal, Brazil should be one of the favourites to win the World Cup next year?
No. No. Also, no. And no. When we have seen Brazil having the difficulties that they have had during the World Cup qualifying cycle, whoever the manager has been at the time has tried to rely on these same players that are having very good tournaments, such as the case of Gerson, for example, for Flamengo. Igor Jesus, who scored the other night against PSG. These are guys that have been tried at the national team level and haven't actually proven that they're good enough to consistently produce at that level the sort of performance that is required. But most of all, because you haven't had the performances from your key players, be it Vini, be it Rodrigo, Rafinha picked up his level of play towards the end of the season or towards the end of the World Cup qualifying cycle, so he has been better. You think about who the stars of this team are and who's actually going to push this team forward. And it cannot be Gerson, it cannot be Igor Jesus, it has to be Vini, it has to be guys like Rodrigo. And you're still, even then, you're still missing an outside back on the right, an outside back on the left. You're missing a presence in the midfield. You're missing an attacking presence coming out of the midfield. And those players, as good as they have been in the Club World Cup, I don't think that translates into success in winning the World Cup next year. And that's a question, whether it's good enough for them to win the World Cup. I don't think that's the case.
There's no question the Brazilian teams have got a chip on the shoulder coming into this.
Yeah, that's different.
And that's a different ballgame entirely.
Right.
That's why they're doing well.
Ali, would it be a good move for billionaires to start buying South American clubs rather than European clubs so that South Americans show how great they can be rather than always having to sell their best players?
Well, I think we're all old enough to remember a time in which most players from South America that were talented players in South America actually played in South America. And that was a time in which the Intercontinental Cup, in which Stevie played, was a big deal, a huge deal for South America. Now, while I'm all for investing in South America, and if I had the money to do so, I would invest in my own country. Investing in my own country comes with a lot of risk. And it has nothing to do with the quality of the players or not. It has nothing to do with the quality of the team or the quality of the league. And it has everything to do with the unrest, social unrest, political unrest, financial unrest that exists in most countries in South America. It's the reality. It's socio-political realities in these countries that if I'm investing, I have to be very careful with the decisions that I'm making because I don't know exactly where my money is going. And so it is far easier and far more convenient to go to a first world country, like England, for example, and go into the lower divisions of England and say, yeah, I'll invest over there, and we actually follow the path of Wrexham or we follow the path of Birmingham City or whatever the case may be, and we're going to say, and we could potentially end up in the Premier League. If you are an investor going and putting money into a team in Argentina, a team in Brazil, what's the goal? Right? What's the best that you can achieve? Winning the Club World Cup? Is that worthwhile for you as an investor?
Financially, what reward are you getting?
Yeah, and what does it do for you? And so, and what is the risk that you're taking, which I think is the key here, the risk as to what happens with your money once you put it into the hands of others to manage a team that you're overseeing.
Final question, Stevie. You can't say breakfast. When was the last time you were as happy as Sid Lowe is today? We're talking sports. What sporting moment gave you the same sort of ecstasy that Sid has been experiencing over the last 48 hours with Real Oviedo?
I don't get too excited anymore.
No, that's... Do you remember anything from your childhood, like one moment that kind of stuck with you when X team won something?
I remember I used to cry like a baby when Rangers got beat.
Really?
Aye.
Just in any game?
Yeah. My brother used to wind me up. My brother was a Kilmarnock supporter.
Okay, but we're talking about happiness.
Happiness.
Yes, let's focus on the happy thoughts.
So Istanbul, Liverpool coming from behind, that would be happy?
Aye.
But not?
Yeah, No, the last time would be when my son kicked the winning field goal in an American football game.
That's a great one.
With 30 seconds to go, he had a 40-yard field goal.
Right.
They were a point behind, I think. Aye, point behind, 40 yards, 30 seconds left.
Yep.
Local rivals, packed out, 3,000 people there for the town against the town next to the rivals. And he kicked a field goal and we won.
That's awesome.
And then we ran on the field.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was the last time.
Oh, very. And what snarky comment did you give to him, knowing you?
No, I just had a smile.
Oh,
yes.
Nice.
Oh, what a teddy bear you are.
That's a great
my boy.
Ali?
Well, it's upcoming. September, when Venezuela hopefully are able to.
Because they've never done it before.
Oh no, you get ready for the fall.
Well, actually, in September we'll put ourselves in a position to then go into the playoffs, and then.
Yeah.
So I'm hoping that September.
There's not an element at all within your body resenting the fact that they're going to do something that you guys were so close to doing but never did.
Not at all. No. And again, I've said it many times. I don't like the 48-team World Cup, but if this gives Venezuela a chance to qualify, I couldn't care less.
Yeah, I think coming out of CONMEBOL, you get a pass for the.
Well, and back in my qualifying days, it was 4 teams that qualify, and the 5th team went to the playoff.
Right.
So yeah, it's part of me thinking, man, I would have loved to have been in this position. Yes, of course, that's natural, but in no way is resentment. In fact, there are guys who are still on the team who I'm rooting hard for. Those guys, guys that I play with, Salomón Rondón, Tomás Rincón. These are guys that were part of
the old guys.
They're older now, but they were far younger then. And they're getting an opportunity to do something that hasn't been done before. And so that will generate some some excitement from me. And it's not just from me. It really goes back to my family,
of course,
and my people in Venezuela, and my extended family, and my dad, and brings all those memories. And so it obviously, you know, my dad passed away not too long ago, and so for him to have lived through that would have been great.
Ali, thank you very much. Just a reminder, ESPN FC back on your screens tomorrow. That was a nice, sentimental, interesting chat. Gab and Craig are here tomorrow. Good luck.